Hello everyone, today I'm going to share with you how you can take pumpkin pails that you can buy for a couple of bucks and turn them into beautiful fall and Halloween decor. Let's get started. This is such an easy hack. You can use your pumpkin pails as planters. Sometimes you're able to find pumpkin pails with holes already at the bottom of them. Just look through the pumpkin pails and you can use those, or you can always make your own holes by using a drill bit. The nice thing about the flowers that I used is I didn't have to repot them. I just placed them directly inside of the pumpkin pails and they fit perfectly. This is easy, affordable, and it looks amazing. Now another easy hack is to get some large solar lights. You want them to have a large round lid. You're going to take a razor and cut an X at the bottom of your pumpkin pail. Make sure the cuts you make are large. You're going to take your solar light, remove the top off of it, and push the pole with the stake through the X that you made, and place the top of the solar light back on. That pole's not going to go anywhere because it's nudged between the plastic on the pumpkin pail. This is such an easy hack to do, and what's nice is you don't have to use any electricity, and solar lights are going on sale right now. Next up, we're making a pumpkin pail arch. I love this. So you're gonna need a lot of pumpkin pails. I ended up getting mine from Walmart's website. I'll link them down below for you. I bought them in bulk. You're gonna need 2 pieces of PVC pipe that's 1/2 inch and 10 feet long. You'll need 1 1/2-inch coupling and then 2 4-foot rebar poles. At the bottom of each bucket, we're gonna be drilling a hole. To do this, we're using a hole saw drill bit. The one that we used was about 1.25 inches. Next up, you're gonna take your coupling and push both PVC pipes through the coupling. And then you're going to start feeding your pumpkins through the PVC pipe. Now I'm leaving the handles on. The reason being is I might want to do something different next time with these pumpkin pails, so I didn't take the handles off of them. I'm just making sure that the handles are facing toward the back of my arch. Now you're going to take your rebar and hammer it inside of the ground. You want to make sure you get at least 1.5 feet inside of the ground. You want to make sure both of your rebar poles are aligned. I had my husband help me with this next part. We just lift up the arch and put it on top of the rebar poles. The pumpkin pail faces are going to move around, so what you want to do is take a little bit of hot glue and put it wherever 2 pumpkin pails meet. This is going to keep the faces in place. They're not going to move around. Trust me, this has been outside for 2 weeks. It has been very windy. It has rained, and the pumpkin pails stay put. I've been wanting to make one of these pumpkin pail arches for so long. I'm glad I did. I know you can buy inflatable ones, but I don't think they look as nice as this, and I can always reuse the pumpkin pails for another DIY. I love the way that this turned out, and you can always add lights to this if you want to. I just have lights flashing at the pumpkin pails at nighttime. For our next project, I'm going to be using a 4-foot piece of rebar and 4 pumpkin pails. We also are using a spade drill bit. It's just a very sharp drill bit to make holes inside of the pumpkin pails. Now we make a hole at the bottom of a pumpkin pail in one corner, and then another hole at the top of the pumpkin pail on the opposite side of a different corner. So you always just want to have one at the top, one at the bottom, but on opposite sides. This way you can put the pails on the rebar pole and they do not go anywhere. Now I got a large planter, filled it up with soil, and I'm going to push my rebar pole through the soil. And then you can put flowers inside of your pumpkin pails. Make sure that you're putting soil inside of the pumpkin pails as well so that the flowers can thrive. Because I'm using larger mums, I'm able to cover up the top of the rebar pole. If you're not able to cover up the top of it, you can always use another pumpkin pail there. I ended up getting some fake flowers from Dollar Tree. I cut them off of the stem and pushed them through the dirt. You can always use real flowers. I'm just using what I had on hand. I love this so much. How gorgeous is this? I want to make another one and have 2 of them at the front near my porch. They're going to be perfect for fall and Halloween, and if you don't celebrate Halloween, just turn the pumpkins around so the back is showing and it's just ready for fall. For our next DIY, I spray paint my pumpkins with this heirloom white spray paint. So it's a little of an off-white color. I'm going to be gluing 3 jack-o'-lanterns together. Before I do that, I take the bottom jack-o'-lantern and I fill it up with some rocks I got from Dollar Tree. These are rocks I use time and time again for different projects. After I fill it up, that's when I glue my other 2 jack-o'-lanterns down to the bottom jack-o'-lantern. I want to make these pumpkin pails look like they have some texture to them. I didn't want to keep them that flat white color. To do this, I'm using a paintbrush. You want to use a paintbrush that you would use on a wall versus a paintbrush you would use when you're painting on a canvas. And the reason being is the bristles are very rough, which works well for this. So I'm just dipping the brush into some paint and just stippling that onto the buckets. I'm using a beige color, a brownish beige color, gray, and white. Next up, I'm going to take a styrofoam square that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to put it inside of the top pumpkin pail and then add some picks. These are pumpkin picks I got at Hobby Lobby. You can always use flowers from Dollar Tree. I ended up using 3 of these total. What I like about this project is it's so inexpensive and ends up looking high end. And just like the other DIYs, you can always flip around the pumpkin jack-o'-lantern faces so that just the back of the pumpkins are showing and it's more ready for fall. For our next DIY, you're going to need some paper mache. Now, I actually got this Activa Fast Mache at Michael's. It's a lot less work to make the paper mache. You just mix it together with some water, read the instructions. It's really easy to do. The only thing is I would do this outside because I don't know if you guys can see all of that. I'm pretty sure you can't. It was just kind of particles were floating everywhere. First off, I'm trying to create an even layer of the paper mache on top of the jack-o'-lantern. I'm trying to make it as even as I can, though I know it wasn't perfect. What we're going to be making is a vintage looking pumpkin pail. I love vintage decor. I love vintage looking decor. And this by far is my favorite DIY in this video. So once you have paper mache all over the pumpkin pail, you're going to start using the paper mache to create the features of your jack-o'-lantern. So what I did is I rolled some paper mache to make the mouth of my jack-o'-lantern, the nose, the eyes. I squished some of the paper mache to make the shape of the eyeballs and the cheeks, for the eyebrows and the eyelashes. I recommend Googling vintage pumpkin pails to draw some inspiration. One of my favorite artists is Joanna Parker, and she does an amazing job at creating holiday decor that looks vintage. I like to draw inspiration from her a lot, so I was looking at her pumpkins to try to figure out what I wanted to do with mine. Now, I haven't worked with paper mache since I was in 3rd grade, so I'm not the best at this. After I put everything on top of the pumpkin, I wanted to smooth the paper mache out. I read that you get a butter knife and you dip it inside of some glue, and that's how you smooth out the paper mache. It was working. However, I realized it was probably best to do this before I added the features of my vintage jack-o'-lantern. After I smoothed out the paper mache to the best of my abilities, I waited for it to dry, and then I go ahead and paint the jack-o'-lantern. I used 6 different colors. I used yellow, orange, white, black, and 2 different shades of brown. I did a lot of mixing to figure out what I liked. And at first I was going with a very orange color, and I realized quickly that you don't want to go too harsh of an orange color because I feel like it takes away from the vintage look. It makes it look like the pumpkin pail that you just covered up in paper mache. To correct my mistake of doing that, I ended up stippling some yellow over the orange, and it looked really nice. And then I went in with a brown color that I mixed in with a little bit of orange to create some of the lines to go through the pumpkin. Like I told you guys, this is my favorite DIY in this video. I love the way that it turned out. I want to make more pumpkin pails. I want to do a cat one. I want to do a ghost one. I just want to make so many of these because I absolutely love them. I want to figure out how I can incorporate this into a Christmas craft because I just love the way that it looks. Moving along to our next project, you're going to want to take a pumpkin pail and fill it up with something heavy. I'm just using rocks. I'm going to cut the handle off of that pumpkin pail, and then I'm going to glue another pumpkin on top of that. And I'm using E6000 to do this and a little bit of hot glue. I got this pumpkin ghost creature from Dollar Tree, and then I got a fountain pump from Amazon. You can get these for as little as $10. So what we're doing is we're cutting out a little circle hole in the front and the back of the pumpkin, and honestly, this is so easy to do with an X-Acto knife because the plastic is very thin. You just want to be able to feed your tube through the back of the pumpkin's head and then coming out of the pumpkin's mouth. You don't want the hole to be too big, otherwise the tube is going to fall right out. If you made the hole too big, you could always try gluing the tube into place. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my little pumpkin ghost, and I am going to figure out how I want his hands to wrap around the jack-o'-lantern and then glue that into place. There's this puking skeleton that has gone viral that people DIY. It's just a skeleton that looks like it's puking. It's a fountain pump that you're using to do this. So what I'm doing is something similar, just with a pumpkin. You're just going to fill up your top pumpkin with some water, and then you plug in the fountain and you're good to go. This is so freaking easy to do. I'm telling you guys, so easy to do. You can move the pumpkin head around. So if you want it to be more hovering over the top of the jack-o'-lantern, you could do that. If you want it to be more straight, you can do that. I've seen people take different dyes and put it in the water to make it look more like puke. So what I ended up doing is I got some green, it's a glow-in-the-dark paint, and I just mixed it inside of the water. And what ended up happening is it ended up foaming, which is super cool, but it was still able to get through the pump. It's not like I clogged the pump or anything like that. It does not glow in the dark, but it still looks cool when it turned into green colors. Next up, we're making the viral concrete pumpkins. So what you're going to need is some concrete and a bucket. You're going to go ahead and mix together your concrete inside of that bucket. Then you're going to lay out your pumpkin pails. What you're going to do is you're going to start pouring your concrete inside of the pumpkin pail. Make sure that you are packing that concrete inside of the pumpkin pail. You just kind of keep lifting it and pounding it down so that it's setting inside of there. Now, do not use the concrete I used. I used fast setting concrete. I used that because I wanted to get this done quickly. That was a bad idea because by the time we were done mixing and I had to readjust my camera, the concrete was already setting. So like you can see, I can't even move it around because it was setting so quickly. What you're going to do is you're going to take a plastic cup and you're going to push it into the center of your pumpkin pail and remove any excess concrete you do not need. So this one, it's going to be a fail and you'll see why. The second one, we ended up adding more water to the concrete to water it down so that it wouldn't set so quickly. And this one ends up turning out better. You can see it's easier to push the cup through, and then I just remove any excess concrete that I don't need. We ended up getting some smaller jack-o'-lanterns and making some smaller versions of these. The cups we're using are just Dixie cups. We waited 2 days for our concrete to dry. It depends on the concrete that you have. You might have to wait longer than that. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a razor and you're going to start cutting through the pumpkin pail. And I'm going to tell you guys, this is the hardest part of it all. Cutting through that pumpkin pail, especially if the pumpkin pail is thick. And some of the Walmart pumpkin pails are thin and some of them are thicker. I had my husband do this for me just because he has a lot more muscle than I have. What you want to do is you want to make sure you get one clean slice from the sides all the way down to the bottom. So my first jack-o'-lantern didn't come out too bad. It didn't come out perfect because I didn't do the best job of compacting that cement inside of the jack-o'-lantern because I was afraid it was going to dry too fast. So I was trying to move as fast as I could, and I probably should have did a better job doing that. Now the second one that we opened up is actually the first one that I made, and this one is horrible. Look at it. It's just a blob of concrete. It's just a rock, essentially. It was so bad. So don't get the fast setting concrete. Even with the mistakes that were made, I really like the way that this pumpkin turned out, so much so that I went out, I bought concrete, and I'm still waiting for my pumpkins to dry. I got one that wasn't fast setting. My two small pumpkins turned out perfect. The only thing is that one looks like it didn't turn out perfect because I dropped it when I was moving it to the front of my house. You want to put a little LED candle inside of there or maybe some flowers. I love these so much. I cannot wait to get some perfect looking cement pumpkins. Just don't get that fast setting stuff. Fast setting is different from the quick dry too. They're two different things. I saw these hammered jack-o'-lanterns from Pottery Barn and they retail for $179. So I was thinking to myself, let me make something similar. Walmart carries black jack-o'-lanterns. Now you can make these look hammered. I'm just making something similar, not a perfect do. So what I do is I grab a gold spray paint and spray paint the inside of my jack-o'-lanterns. I'm going to be using 3 total. Now I grab an X-Acto knife and I cut out the features of the jack-o'-lantern. I cut the handles off of 2 of my jack-o'-lanterns, and then I'm going to glue the jack-o'-lanterns on top of each other. I used hot glue, and honestly, it holds up pretty well. You can always use E6000. It's completely up to you. It really just depends on where you live, and then you might want to change things around depending on where you live. So maybe if you do live in Florida, instead of using glue, you can take a little pole and drill a hole and attach all 3 pumpkins using a pole. I put some tea lights inside of my pumpkins, and this is just my own little version of the Pottery Barn jack-o'-lanterns. If I wanted to make them look hammered, I could just buy this hammered spray paint, but I was just trying to keep this really inexpensive to do, and I like the way that it looks, and you can always go with different color pumpkins if you want to. At nighttime is when I think this looks absolutely gorgeous. For our next DIY, I'm going to remove the handle off of my pumpkin. Then I'm going to dummy up the bottom. To do this, I'm using some old styrofoam pieces I have laying around my house, but you can honestly use whatever you want, whether it's tissue paper, old paper bags, old towels. You just want to dummy up the bottom. Now I got these styrofoam rounds from Dollar Tree. It's 2 for $1.25. I'm going to glue both of them inside of my pumpkin pail. Now I got some craft foam. I'll link this one down below for you guys. It's from Walmart. It's my favorite stack of craft foam because you get so many different colors. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace another styrofoam round from Dollar Tree on top of some craft foam. You can do whatever color you want. Basically, I'm going to make this look like a lollipop. So I got a piece to cover up the front of the lollipop, and then I cut some pieces that are going to go around the sides of the lollipop so that it's purple as well. I draw a peppermint design onto some black craft foam. I cut that out, and then I just glue all of this to the styrofoam round, making it look like a black and purple piece of peppermint. I made a smaller lollipop this time around. I used some pink craft foam and some black craft foam. I picked up this styrofoam cone from Dollar Tree and I painted it to look like a piece of candy corn. And then I got some Model Magic from Dollar Tree, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll some little balls to look like gumballs. I got this candy corn pick from Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove the candy corn off of the pick, and I'm going to save that pick part, the thicker one, and glue it to my smaller lollipop so that it has a lollipop handle. I then take all these pieces and I start to glue them inside of my jack-o'-lantern. So I start with the larger lollipop, I then add the cone foam inside of there, and the smaller lollipop, the little gumballs, the candy corn pick from Dollar Tree. I ended up painting little eyeballs onto my white gumballs. To give the pumpkin pail a little bit more life, I went in with a darker orange color to really highlight the crevices of the pumpkin pail and just add a little more something to it. Now this is actually inspired from a decoration that I got from at-home stores. It's this sweet jack-o'-lantern. It's sold out real quickly near me, so I wanted to recreate something using the Walmart pumpkin pails. I think it came out so cute. I do wish that I added a black handle to this. However, this is how it turned out, and I like the way it looks a lot.